The men's and women's squash teams battled Brown at home last weekend, and it came out with great results as the women's squash team won 8-1 as they played great in the match, bouncing back from that loss against Princeton. The men's squash team, they won 9-0, did not drop one game. Francis Johnson moved up to 3 for the team, and he played great in that spot as Moshe Sarfati dropped down to 5, and he showed that he was well deserved of that spot too. This Harvard match was delayed until next Wednesday, but the women's team will be in play tomorrow at the Hal Cup. Go out and take a look, as it should be exciting. The women are 3-time defending champions, but this year they're facing an uphill battle. They want to repeat.
So that's too bad, Steven. I was looking forward to some Valentine's Day matches for the squash team at Harvard, but I guess we'll have to wait till next week to kick some Harvard ass, right? But the men's and women's fencing teams actually had their first weekend of Ivy competition this past weekend when they competed in the Ivy South competition. The women lost all 3 fencing matches, unfortunately, losing all to Penn, Brown, and Columbia, although they only lost by 5 to Brown. The foilists did very well versus Brown, winning a lot of bouts, and senior Lisa Mendelson won 3 bouts, and Lydia Gucheva, a new freshman, they both went 3-0 versus Brown in the foil. The men, meanwhile, were able to beat Brown in a lopsided victory, 21-6, but unfortunately got killed by Penn and Columbia, 22-5 and 24-3 respectively. Mike Pierce led the epee squad versus Brown, going 3-0 himself, while the foilists also did very well versus Brown. Next up for both the men's and women's fencing teams this weekend will be Junior Olympics for a few of the fencers, while the February 25th weekend they will compete in the Ivy North competition against the rest of the Ancient 8 teams.
The women's basketball team was trying to get back on track after a winless weekend against Penn and Princeton last week. Well, it was a perfect weekend to do so, as they had Columbia coming to town, a team that had yet to win a game in the Ivies, and then Cornell the next night. The women were trying to prove once again that they were not pretenders, but contenders. Take a look at the clips. Chelsea Frazier for Columbia helps Columbia take a 10-4 lead with a layup right here. But Sarah McComb, who had a fantastic game for Yale, cuts the lead to 10-8 with this layup right back here. Well, you can't leave Stephanie Marciano in the open in the corner, because she'll hurt you every time. 13-10 Yale at this point. But Columbia has some dangerous shooters too, as Megan Griffith nails the three-pointer to tie the game up at 17. But Melissa Colborn, well, she was shooting pretty well in this game too, as she nails the three-pointer. She finished with 11 in this one. Then Jamie Van Horn, fueling in this game, nails the buzzer beater to send Yale into the half, only trailing by 1 point. Feeling at the end of the first half? Well, why not start the second half the same way? Van Horn right away here in the second half. Though the game would soon turn sour for the Bulldogs, as Ashley easily tries to force it in and turns it over. And Brown makes Yale pay for it on this fast break as she makes the drive right here. Well, these guards were too overwhelming for Yale all game long, as they push the pace right here and hustle down court, finding the open Frazier for the layup. Frazier was also pretty dominant against the Bulldogs today, as once again, Columbia would find her for another layup right here. Columbia went on to get their first Ivy League win of the season with a 72-64 victory over Yale. Yale would host Cornell the next night. Despite her great performance last game, you didn't hear Erica Davis's name too much. This game was a different story though. Erica Davis right here cuts the Cornell lead to 14-12. Erica Davis again here ties it at 14. And yet again, it's Erica Davis. This time she draws the foul too to make it 17-14. What's that girl's name again? Oh right, Erica Davis. 21-17 Yale. Believe it or not, there are other players on this team though. Jamie Van Horn nails a three-pointer right here to make it 26-19. 29-21, Bulldogs led at half. And time for the second half. And back to who? Well, Erica Davis. And this time though, she passes the ball to Sarah McComb for the layup. Erica Davis again, this time rejected. Well, Erica Davis would have a few of those type of things in the second half, as another block shot there. This girl is a human highlight reel. Another block shot right there. And yet, I feel it, another one there. Erica Davis won a game, as once again, Rejected. You can't get anything by this girl. What a great game for the Bulldogs as they win 61-45 over Cornell. Yale improved to 4-4 in the Ivy Leagues with this victory. The story of the game, none other than Erica Davis. 25 points, 12 rebounds, 9 block shots. 1 block shot away from the first triple-double in Yale girls basketball history. A great game for Erica Davis. That was just an embarrassing loss to Columbia, but fortunately the women got back on track against Cornell. But looks like the Ivy League championship is growing further and further out of reach as Harvard has developed a lead with only 1 loss compared to Princeton, which has 2 losses. Why did the women lose that game to Columbia, Neil?
Well, you know, I mean, one thing, of course, turnovers are still hurting this team and allowing points off turnovers. But what you notice, if you, for people who were at that game, watching that game, is that these tiny little guards on Columbia just were dominating our guards on offense. They were driving easily past them. You know, Lilimo got beat a couple times. Marciano was having trouble with Shasta Henderson there. And we got to find a way to guard these more athletic guards.
Well, we were also having trouble when that game was fouls. The refs were a little maybe one-sided. I mean, the Yale bench seemed to think so at least.
Coach Grobeck.
And Erica Davis got in foul trouble early in that game. And we saw in the Cornell game that the key to this team is one thing. Erica Davis, she is the most dominant player in the Ivy League. She almost had a triple-double with 25 points, 12 rebounds, and 9 block shots in that game versus Cornell. And basically just give her the ball. It seems like Melissa Colburn has that idea. She tries to give her the ball every time. It seems like the team needs to develop more of a strategy around that. They have such a dominant player, take advantage of it, and try to exploit other teams' weaknesses.
You know, that concerns me a little bit, though, because watching in that Columbia game, watching the Cornell game even, you know, they try to get the ball into Erica because obviously she is a dominating player. She's capable of dominating a game like she did against Cornell. But when Sheneni Okafor tries to make a pass when she's double-teamed and throws the ball out of bounds past the baseline, or when Colburn gives up an empty lane she should be driving in, that's when we got to make changes.
It's true. Erica showed softer hands, too, in the Cornell game, and she was catching a lot of those passes which probably shouldn't have been thrown, and she was clearly out-muscling the ones in the Cornell game. But the team needs to mix up, as they did in the Cornell game, as they were taking outside shots, getting their looks. Van Horn was making a lot of outside shots, which was really good for the team. In Columbia, they didn't do that so much as the guards were just playing great defense. They weren't allowing those shots to open up, Neil.
So you said, you know, Harvard only has 1 loss this season. That 1 loss, of course, against the Bulldogs at home.
And you're right, Neil. The 1 loss for Harvard did come against us, and that's exactly where Yale is traveling this weekend to Harvard and Dartmouth to take on the Crimson and the Big Green. Both games are very important for the team as they try to prove that they are contenders and strive for this Ivy League title this year.